Good afternoon, everyone. We are Jethro and Wilfred, and we would like to present to you today our capstone project, Condominium Trends in Metro Manila. Are you a real estate investor looking to invest in condominium units but do not know your options?
Or maybe a condominium unit seller who wants to know the best price to sell your property.
Perhaps a real estate developer who wants to plan how to increase the rating of your project.
Whatever your role may be, join us as we present some data tools that could help real estate investors, condominium unit sellers, and developers to achieve their goals. Prior to the COVID pandemic, condominium stock in Metro Manila grew 2% in the second quarter of 2019 to meet the demands of the consumers. Although the real estate market has been disrupted by the pandemic, once market sentiment improves, which is expected to be by the third quarter of 2020, pent-up residential demand will again start kicking in by early 2021. Since the real estate industry is expected to make a recovery, we have decided to provide some data tools that may help you to take advantage of the opportunity. We have trained machine learning models that can help categorize the condominium options to narrow down choices based on what people look for, generate scores based on what condominiums can offer, or predict price for condominium sellers who have no idea how much they should sell their property.
Now let's move to our methodology and our data. This is the process we use to create our data tools. We first scrape the information needed from various online sources that we will show later. Then we fixed and cleaned our data to solve some missing details and remove irrelevant features. We then prepared our models for our three tools, namely the clustering of condominiums, price per square meter analysis, and score prediction modeling. Then we checked, compared, and observed the results. These are the sites where we extracted our data. Firstly, Lamudi is an online real estate marketplace where we extracted the details of the condominium units being sold in Metro Manila. Here we took the price per square meter, bedrooms and bathrooms, location which includes the coordinates on the city, and of course the amenities. ZipMatch, on the other hand, is another online source about the real estate market that has their own proprietary algorithm to generate scores based on a condominium's neighborhood, amenities, affordability, rental yield, and price per square meter, which we hope to use for another purpose. Lastly, Yelp is an online source which publishes crowdsourced reviews about business. And this is where we extracted different establishments such as hospitals, commercial stores, schools, restaurants, banks within Metro Manila and their exact location. We'll now proceed to discuss the data services or tools we developed.
The first is the data tool. The first data tool that we use is categorizing the condominium options, or what is known as clustering. We use what is called K-means clustering algorithm in order to categorize the different condominium units in Metro Manila. We feed in our data and let the machine do all the work, and then we check the results. We reduce the features of our data from 50 to 18 by using a process called principal component analysis. It works by getting bits and pieces of the data from the 50 original features and compressing them into 18. The right table shows samples of how much of the original features were compressed to generate the new features. The graph on the left shows the clusters generated by the machine. But since the model only generated categories as 1, 2, and 3, it is up to us to analyze the result and create formal labels based on the patterns that we can find. Jethro will now explain what are the patterns we found and how we labeled them.
Here, let's discuss those clusters. This is cluster 1. It is the most expensive cluster. Even if its condominiums have the least number of amenities, they have the most establishments within 1 kilometer radius. Most of these condominiums are located in business districts such as Makati, BGC, and Ortigas, or near notable institutions like the US Embassy. A sample condo in this cluster is the Proscenium at Rockwell in Makati City. For the next cluster, or cluster 2, it is the second most expensive cluster. The condominiums here have the most number of amenities and an adequate number of important establishments nearby. But again, this cluster is just the second most expensive. Condo locations here are scattered, and an example of condominium in this cluster is SM Jazz Residences in Makati City. Lastly, for cluster 3, it is the cheapest cluster, and its locations are not so good. The condominiums here only have an adequate number of amenities and the least number of important establishments nearby. Condo locations are also scattered, and an example of condominium for this cluster is DMCI Homes Mireya Residences in Pasig City. Given these clusters, how can real estate investors use our product? Depending on the purpose and the target market, our product can easily create a list of units to choose from. If one intends to have rental properties for young professionals, he or she might consider buying those properties with not so expensive prices but lots of amenities. If there's a market for car owners who don't mind driving to get to places as long as the rent is cheap, then our product will also be able to develop one for them.
The next data tool is predicting a score for properties based on condominium features. We use several machine learning algorithms for training score generation. This table shows the top 3 best performing machine learning models for score prediction, with AdaBoost Regressor being the best choice. The RMSE, or root mean squared error column, shows the average distance of the actual scores from the predicted scores. So the closer it is to 0 means the more accurate our model is in predicting the score. In the models above, the AdaBoost regressor shows the lowest value, meaning that the score predictions made by this model is closer to the actual value. The R2, on the other hand, explains how the variations of the predicted scores can be explained by the condominium features. The closer the value is to 1, the more our condominium features can explain the prediction of the scores. In the table above, although AdaBoost regressor has the highest value, it is still considered low in explaining the score predictions. Later, we will discuss some recommendations that might improve the results of the models. This graph shows the top 10 most important features that affect the score prediction. While some are understandable, it is surprising to note that sauna and gazebo has the higher importance compared to other amenities. Just a caution, however, that in this study, we merely considered whether an amenity exists or not. As we will include in our recommendations later, as a further exploration, we can consider putting weights for each amenity and see if the result will still be the same. So what is the application of this data tool? While ZipMatch is focusing on scoring existing condominium units, our focus is to help condominium developers during their planning stage before they actually build one. Let's say the developer has decided to at least target a score of 7. He can use our data tool to mix and match different features to achieve that target score. Like for example, based on the previous chart shown, he could try adding only sauna and gazebo as amenities, but ensuring that the location has nearby hospitals and commercial stores. Then he could check if he's able to achieve his target score. If not, then he can try to mix and match again.
And now this is our last data tool, which is the price prediction. Similar to the score prediction, we also fed our data to 7 different regressors, but this time with price per square meter as a dependent variable. We took the one with the lowest RMSE and highest R squared, which is the bagging regressor, with the RMSE of 41.6K and the R squared of 0.6366. Next to the bagging regressor are the XGB regressor and AdaBoost regressor. Here we can see the top 10 features that affect the price prediction. First, or the most important one, is the 24-hour security. Next is the existence of a fitness sports center. And third is the location or the latitude and longitude. It is also surprising to note that the existence of a bar and pond beat the other amenities in predicting the price. As mentioned in score prediction, it will be interesting to see if the result will be the same if we weigh the amenities instead of simply acknowledging their existence. How much should I sell? An application of this product is for the condominium unit sellers. They can use our tool to determine the ideal selling price by indicating the features offered by the unit, which includes the location, amenities, floor area, and more.
So that ends our discussion of our data tools. Next is our recommendations to improve the performance of our models. At this moment, our data tools still have a lot of room for improvements, but we're getting there. If ever we find more available data in the future and get more time for research and testing, we can still improve the performance of our tools. Some data that we would like to consider in the future includes, first, the age of the condominium, since we believe that building age could increase or decrease its price. Second is using weights for amenities instead of simply counting them. For example, there might be a higher demand for swimming pools as compared to fish ponds. So swimming pools should have a higher weight. Third, same as amenities, establishment could also be weighed instead of just being counted, as the qualities may differ from one another. For example, a university offering elementary to college studies should weigh more than a school offering. We also realized that the developer's reputation could also affect score and prizes, and we would like to consider them as well. Finally, we would like to include the accessibility to public transportation, since such convenience could also affect the price and score. So that's it now for our presentation. We are now ready to take in your questions.